Welcome to my channel. I hope you like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to knit this basic baby cardigan sweater. It's for baby boys and girls between 0 and 3 months, but you can easily make it smaller or bigger from a newborn size and up to 12 months. Down here in the information box, I'll go ahead and leave you some information on how you can easily make it smaller or bigger, so be sure to check that out. And as always, if you prefer written pattern, check out my Etsy shop. I'll leave the link to my Etsy shop up here on the right hand side and in the information box below. Thank you so much for your support. Now, to knit this little sweater, this is the yarn that I used. This is Aran weight yarn. You can also use any number 4 yarn or 10 ply. For the 0 to 3 month size, you're going to need about 75 grams. And you will also need 6 buttons that are 12, 13, or even 14 millimeter size. I used 13 millimeter size buttons. Okay, let's get started, and thank you so much for watching. Okay, to make this little sweater, I'll be using these 4.5 millimeter knitting needles. These are US size 7. I'm using circular needles. These are 32-inch long. Now, you can also use straight needles. We're going to be knitting the yoke first, then the sleeves, and then the body. So you can certainly use straight needles to make this little sweater. Now, this is the yarn that I'm going to be using. This is James Seabread Baby Aran. You can also use any number 4 yarn or 10 ply. So here, to begin, the first thing that we need to do is we need to cast on our stitches. I'm going to cast on a total of 44 stitches. So to do this, what we need to do is we need to measure the yarn first. So I'm going to use both needles and I'm going to wrap the yarn around 20 times. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So here we have enough yarn for about 20 stitches. We're going to double it up. We have enough for about 40 stitches. Like I said, I need to cast on a total of 44. So I'm going to add a little bit more, about that much. And now I'm going to make a slip knot here. Now insert both needles through this slip knot. This yarn on this side is the yarn that we just measured, and this here is coming from the skein. So you're going to open up the yarn like this, and we're going to go from left to right, and we're going to grab a loop like this. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. Make sure that you use both needles because we want the first row to be nice and stretchy. We don't want it to be too tight, so make sure you use both needles. So continue and cast on 44 stitches. I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. I finished casting on my stitches. I have 44. Now here at the end, just tie a knot so that the first stitch here doesn't open too much. There. Now carefully pull one of the needles off. And now we're going to begin. The first thing that we're going to do is the neckline. For the neckline, we're going to knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2 for the first row and for row 2 and 3 as well. So to begin here, I'm going to knit the first stitch, knit the second stitch, and then purl the next 2. And that's how we're going to continue here. So knit 2, purl 2. Knit 2, purl 2. Continue like this for this first row. I'll meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of this first row. In this row we have knit 2, purl 2. I'm at the end. I have the last 2 stitches. Here at the end I purl 2. And here is the first row. I have 44 stitches. Now for row 2, slip the first stitch, knit the second stitch, and then purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2. Continue like this for the second row. I'll meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of the second row. Here at the end, purl 2. And here's the second row with 44 stitches. Turn for the third row. Now for the third row, I'm going to slip the first stitch, and in this row and row 4, we're going to just knit across. I'm not going to make the neckline too big. I'm only going to make these 4 rows here. So continue, just knit across for this third row. I'll meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of the third row. In this row, I just knit across. Now turn for the 4th row. In the 4th row, same thing, slip the first stitch and knit across. And this is how we're going to work this 4th row, just knit across. I'll meet you at the end. Okay, I finished the 4th row. Now we're going to turn. Here we're going to begin our pattern now for the body. Now the neckline is done. From here on, this here is going to be the front side of the little sweater. So I'm going to place a stitch marker to mark the front side, and this here is going to be the wrong side. Now this little sweater is for baby girls, so I'm going to be making my buttonholes at the end of the row when we're on the front side. But I'm going to show you how you're going to make it if you're making this little sweater for boys, which I already have one here. This is how it looks. So you're going to be making the buttonholes here at the beginning of the row, whereas for girls it's at the end. So here, let me show you what you need to do if it's for boy. This is only for boy. So what you're going to do is you're going to knit 2, you're going to yarn over, and here I like to knit 2 together through the back. I think that when you knit it through the back, it creates a nicer hole here, but you can knit it through the front. That would be up to you. And then you're going to knit 1. These 5 stitches here are going to be for the front panels, and same thing for the other side. So I'm going to place a stitch marker after I make this. Now when you come back in the second row, let's say you're coming back, you're going to knit 2, then this here you're going to knit through the back loop so that the hole is not too big, and then knit 2 at the end. And at the beginning here of the second row of the first repeat, you're just going to knit 5. I hope that makes sense, but it's going to be the same as for girls, but on the different sides. Now, like I said, I'm making this for girls, so I don't need to make my buttonhole here. I need to make it at the end. So here I'm going to knit 5. And I'm going to place a stitch marker. Like I said, these 5 stitches here are going to be for the button band or the front panels. And now to start the repeat, this is what we're going to do. We're going to knit 2, then yarn over, knit 2, yarn over, knit 2, yarn over. And that's how you're going to work this first row to the first repeat. I will meet you here at the end, 7 stitches before we finish, to show you what we need to do next. I'm here at the end. I have the last 7 stitches, 2, 4, 6, 7. Now here, yarn over, knit 2, place a marker here to mark the front panels. Now here at the end, I'm going to make my buttonholes. Like I said, I'm making this little sweater for girls. I already showed you at the beginning of the row what you need to do if you're making this for boys. So here, to make the buttonholes for girls, you're going to knit 2, yarn over, and then knit 2 together through the back. You can also knit 2 together through the front, but I'm going to be doing this through the back. Now knit 1. And here's the first buttonhole. Now turn for row 2 of the first repeat. I forgot to mention, at the end of this first row of the first repeat, I have a total of 60 stitches. Now turn for the second row. Now each repeat consists of 8 rows, and at the end of each row from here on, for the first repeat, you're always going to have 60 stitches. So here for the second row, I'm going to knit 2. And this yarn over here, I'm going to knit through the back. If you're making this for boy, then you're just going to knit 5, and at the end is where you're going to do what I'm doing here. Now knit 2. Here are the 5 stitches for the button band or front panels, past the stitch marker. Now here what we're going to do is we're going to purl across up to the last 5 stitches. This is the wrong side. So all you do is just purl across up to the last 5 stitches, where you're going to knit 5. If you're making this for boy, then you're going to knit 2, knit 1 through the back loop, and then knit 2. I'll meet you at the end of this second row. I'm here at the end of the second row for the first repeat. In this row I purled and then knit 5 here at the end. Now turn for the third row. Now this is the third row of the first repeat. Here I'm going to knit 5, pass the stitch marker. Now here all I'm going to do for this third row is just knit across like this. So continue, finish this third row. I'll meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of this third row. This is the right side. Here at the end, knit 5. Here's the third row with a total of 60 stitches. Turn for the fourth row of the first repeat. In this row, we're going to knit 5. Now pass the stitch marker, and in this fourth row all we're going to do is just purl across up to the last 5 stitches where you're going to knit 5. Continue, finish this fourth row to the first repeat. I'll meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of the fourth row. In this row I purled across. Here, these last 5 stitches I'm going to knit. And here's the fourth row. Now turn. From here on, these 5 stitches here at the beginning and at the end, we're always going to knit no matter what side you're on. For the next 4 rows, row 5, 6, 7, and 8, we're going to knit across and then turn and then knit across. So for a total of 4 rows, we're going to do this. This is going to create these 2 rows here of garter stitch. So to do this here, this is what we're going to do. This would be row 5 of the first repeat. So all you're going to do is just knit these first 5 stitches, pass the stitch marker, and then knit across. Now once you finish this row here at the end, you're going to turn and then knit across for row 6. For row 7, you're going to turn, knit across. For row 8, you're going to turn and knit across. And that's how we're going to complete the first repeat. So finish these 4 rows and then I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. Okay, I finished rows 5, 6, 7, and 8. In these 4 rows, we just knit across. Now, this completes the first repeat. I have a total of 60 stitches for each one of these rows for the first repeat. Now, we're going to start the second repeat. Again, we're going to repeat the same 8 rows. So here to begin, this will be row 1 of the second repeat. Here, I'm going to knit 5. Pass the stitch marker, knit 2, yarn over, knit 2, yarn over, knit 2, yarn over, knit 2. This is how you're going to continue for the rest of this first row to the second repeat. I will meet you here at the end, 7 stitches before we finish, to show you what we need to do next. I'm here at the end of the first row to the second repeat. I have the last 7 stitches. Now yarn over here and knit 2, pass your stitch marker and knit 5. And here's the first row to the second repeat with a total of 84 stitches. Now turn for the second row. Now at the end of each row for the second repeat, we're always going to have 84 stitches. Now for the second row, you're going to knit 5, pass the stitch marker, and here you're just going to purl across up to the last 5 stitches where you're going to knit 5. Continue, finish this second row. I'll meet you at the end. I finished the second row, the second repeat. I have 84 stitches in this row. This is on the wrong side. I purled and then knit 5 here at the end. Now for the third row, here we're going to knit 5. Now pass the stitch marker. And in this row, all we're going to do is just knit across for this third row. Continue. I will meet you at the end to show you what we need to do next. I finished the third row. In this row I knit across. Now turn. For row 4 we're going to knit 5, past the stitch marker, and here we're going to purl across up to the last 5 stitches where you're going to knit 5. Continue like this for this 4th row to the 2nd repeat. I will meet you at the end. I finished the 4th row. This is the wrong side. In this row I purled across. Here the last 5 stitches I knit. Now turn. Now for rows 5, 6, 7, and 8 we knit across, but in this 5th row at the end I'm going to make my 2nd buttonhole. We're going to be adding buttonholes every 12th row. So here to begin, if you're making the little sweater for boys, this is where you would make your buttonhole. I'm making mine at the end of the row. So here knit 5, past the stitch marker, knit across up to the last 5 stitches. I will meet you here at the end to show you how I'm going to make the 2nd buttonhole. I'm here at the end of the 5th row to the 2nd repeat. Now here at the end of this row I'm going to make my 2nd buttonhole. So here to make the buttonhole I'm going to knit 2. I'm going to yarn over, knit 2 together through the back, or you can make it through the front. Just be consistent. I'm going to be knitting 2 through the back and then knit 1. And here is the 2nd buttonhole. Now turn. Now for rows 6, 7, and 8 we're just going to knit across the yarn over, knit through the back. Now if you're making this for boy, then you would just knit 5 here and then do what I did here at the end, where you knit the yarn over through the back loop. Now continue, finish row 6, 7, and 8 where you just knit across. I will meet you at the end of row 8 to show you what we need to do next. I'm here at the end of the 8th row. This completes the 2nd repeat. Now we're going to make one more repeat, and we're going to do the same thing we did in these last 2 repeats. We're going to repeat the same 8 rows. So here to begin the 3rd repeat, I'm going to knit 5. Now this is row 1 of the 3rd repeat. So here knit 5, past your stitch marker, knit 2, yarn over, knit 2, yarn over, knit 2. This is how you're going to continue to the end of the row. Here at the end, these 2 stitches before the stitch marker, you're going to knit 2 and then knit 5. I'll meet you at the end of this 1st row to the 3rd repeat to show you what we need to do next. I'm here at the end of the 1st row to the 3rd repeat. Now here at the end I have the last 2 stitches. I'm going to yarn over, knit 2, past the stitch marker, then knit 5. Now this completes the 1st row to the 3rd repeat. At the end of this 1st row of the 3rd repeat I have a total of 120 stitches. From here on for this repeat we're always going to have 120 stitches. Now turn for row 2. Now in row 2 here we're going to knit 5, past the stitch marker, and here you're just going to purl across for the 2nd row up to the last 5 stitches where you're going to knit 5. Now for row 3 you're going to knit across. For row 4 of the 3rd repeat you're going to knit 5 and then purl across, then knit 5. That's how you're going to complete those rows. And then for row 5, 6, 7, and 8 you're going to knit across. I'm not going to show you this repeat because it's exactly the same thing we have done for repeat 1 and 2. So continue, finish the 3rd repeat. I'll meet you at the end to show you what we need to do next. I finished the 3rd repeat. I did a total of 8 rows here, just like the other 2 repeats that I showed you. At the end of this 3rd repeat, I had a total of 120 stitches. Now, in the next row, what we're going to do next is we're going to separate the sleeves. So here I have placed some stitch markers. So each one of the front panels has 19 stitches. Each one of the sleeves has 27 stitches. And for the back side, I have 28 stitches. So that's a total of 120 stitches. So what we're going to do in this next row, row 1, is we're going to work this first front panel. Then we're going to work the first sleeve, and we're going to make the first sleeve, close the first sleeve, and then continue with the back side. Then we're going to make the second sleeve exactly how we make it here with the first sleeve, and then we're going to finish it and close it, and then we're going to finish here with the second front panel. So it's a pretty long first row. Now in this first row at the end, I'm also going to add my third buttonhole. So if you're making this for boys, you will make your third buttonhole here at the beginning of the row. I'm making it for girls, so I need to make it here at the end. So to start here with the first row, this is going to be the first row of the body. I'm going to start by knitting these 19 stitches for this first front panel. So here we're going to knit 5. Again, this is where you would make your buttonhole if you're making this for boys. I'm just going to knit 5 past the stitch marker, and I'm going to knit up to the first stitch marker. Here you should have 19 stitches. There. Now, before I continue, I need to make an extra stitch, and I'm going to do it right here, right in between these two stitches. So I'm going to make one right. So pick up this bar that's between these two stitches, put it onto the left needle, and knit this stitch. So now I have 20 stitches here. Remove this stitch marker. I am going to continue with these straight needles. These are 4.5 millimeter straight needles. It's easier for me because I'm using these circular needles. So if you're using straight needles, you can also do the same. I like to make things easy, so I'm going to continue with this extra set of needles, and all I do is just knit these 27 stitches for the first sleeve. This would be the first row, so that's 2, 26, 27. Perfect. Remove this stitch marker. I'm going to leave these stitches here, and I'm now going to continue and work the first sleeve. So I have 27 stitches here on my needle. I am going to turn. I'm going to use the second needle here, and now from here on we are always going to slip the first stitch because we want a nice straight finish here at the end of each row. Now I'm going to purl across. This will be row 2, and this is on the wrong side. Now I'm going to continue with the repeat pattern that I did in the yoke, but I'm not going to increase. So all we're going to do is rows 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to alternate between a knit row and a purl row. Rows 5, 6, 7, and 8, I am going to knit those 4 rows. So here I just need to finish this second row. Purl the last stitch, turn, and for the third row, always slip the first stitch to begin and knit across. Okay, when you finish this third row, you're going to turn for the fourth row and slip the first stitch and purl across. So go ahead and finish the third row and also the fourth row. I will meet you at the end of the fourth row. Remember, the fourth row is a purl row. I finished the third row, then I turned and I slipped the first stitch and purled across. This is on the wrong side. So now we have 4 rows here of the pattern. Now for rows 5, 6, 7, and 8, we're going to knit all of the stitches no matter what side you're on. So slip the first stitch and just knit across for this 5th row. Now when you finish this 5th row, you're going to turn, slip the first stitch and knit across for the 6th row, turn for the 7th row, slip the first stitch and knit across, turn for the 8th row, slip the first stitch and knit across. This is how we're going to continue and finish this first repeat for the sleeves. And here we're just working with these 27 stitches. Continue. Let's finish the last 4 rows, or actually you only have 3 rows now because I just finished, and then I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. So here for row 6, you just knit also. Continue, finish this repeat, and I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. Okay, I finished the 8th row here. This completes the first repeat for the sleeves. We did a total of 8 rows, so from here on we're just going to continue and repeat the same 8 rows. So here to start you off, remember row 1 and 3 you knit, row 2 and 4 you purl, then rows 5, 6, 7, and 8 you knit. So here I'm going to start the second repeat, and same thing, you slip the first stitch and then you just knit across. Now I'm not going to show you all of those rows because basically all you're doing is just repeating these last 8 rows that I showed you. And we're going to do this for a total of 5 repeats. So we already did 1, then you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 more. So that in total for the sleeve you have a total of 40 rows. So that's 8, 16, 24, 32, 40 stitches. And then in the last row, row 41, we're going to cast off our stitches. So go ahead and finish the sleeve, and then I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. I finished the sleeve. I did a total of 5 repeats, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 40 rows here for the sleeve. Now we're going to cast off our stitches here in this last row, row 41. So to do this here, I am going to slip the first stitch, knit the next. Now bring this first stitch over the second. Again, knit to the next stitch, bring the first stitch over, knit the next stitch, bring the first stitch over, and so on. Continue, finish casting off your stitches, and then I'll come back and show you how to seam the sleeve. Okay, I finished casting off my stitches. Now you have 2 options here to close the sleeve. You can either cut your yarn, leave a nice long tail, pass the yarn through this last loop, and then seam the sleeve after we're done. Or you can do it now, that would be up to you, and just reattach the yarn over here on this side, here after the front panel. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to seam the sleeve now. I'm not going to cut my yarn, so I'm going to turn this like this. We're going to seam this from the wrong side, and I'm going to use this crochet hook. I'm going to use a 5mm hook because I want this part here to be nice and loose, because I'm going to be doing slip stitches. So to do it this way, I'm going to go here to the first stitch. This is the first stitch that I closed or cast off. So I'm just going to insert my hook right there into that stitch. Make sure you go through both loops. I'm having a hard time here getting both loops. There. There. Now bring this through like this. Chain 1. And now we're going to go here along the very edge. Remember that at the beginning of each row we were slipping these stitches, and this creates a nice edge, so that all we need to do now is just go through this edge. Like for example, right here we have the next stitch, so right there, and then find the next one that corresponds to that row, which is this one here. Grab a loop and make a slip stitch like this. Now the next row, and then the next row, grab a loop, make a slip stitch. Make sure that you go through both loops here, right there, and on this side, and make sure that the rows correspond, especially these rows of garter stitch. Make sure that they correspond so that you have a nice finish here. So continue making slip stitches. I will meet you right here to show you how we're going to continue here with the back side. Okay, I finished closing the sleeve. I have a total of 21 slip stitches. My last slip stitch is right here along the very edge, right next to the stitches here for the front panel and the back side. Now we're going to turn the sleeve over to the right side. Let's see how it looks. Perfect. Make sure that these rows of garter stitch correspond so that you have a nice finish. So the little sleeve is all done. Now what we're going to do next is we have this loop that was left from when we were making the slip stitches to close the sleeve. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on my right needle here on this side with the front panel stitches, and this is going to be an extra stitch. So now I have 2 extra stitches. We added one before we started the sleeve. Now this is the center stitch, and here I'm going to add an extra stitch. Actually, I'm going to add 2 so that in total under the sleeves we add a total of 4 stitches. So I already have 2 that I did. I'm going to make one more right through this stitch right there. Lift it up, put it on the needle like this. That's 2. And now go into this bar here. There is no right or wrong way of doing this here. I just lift up this bar right there. And now I'm just going to go right here, lift up this bar that's right before the stitches here for the back side, put it on the left needle and make one right. The important thing here is that you have 4 extra stitches under the sleeve. This is going to add to the chest measurement. So now I have on my needle, let's see, I had 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 23 stitches here. Now I'm going to continue and knit the stitches for the back side. For the back side, I had 28, so that's 2, 3, 27, 28. There. Now remove the stitch marker here. Before we continue, after removing the stitch marker, we need to make one right again. So lift up this bar, put it on the left needle and knit through the front like this. So here I have an extra stitch that I'm adding just like I did here after I did the front panel stitches. So now with the extra set of needles, I'm going to continue and knit the sleeve. That's 1. Now you just continue and knit the stitches for the sleeve. For the sleeve, I have 27 stitches. It's the same thing we did for the first sleeve. We're going to make a total of 5 repeats or a total of 40 rows. So continue and finish the second sleeve. I'll come back and show you after it's done to show you what we need to do next. So I'm going to do the second sleeve. I'm going to close the stitches or cast off, and then I'm going to seam the second sleeve. So I'll meet you back once I do all of that to show you how to add the stitches under the second sleeve and then continue with the second front panel and finish the first row. At the end of the row, I need to remember to add my third buttonhole. So I'll see you once all of this is done. Okay, I finished the second sleeve. I did it exactly in the same way how I showed you with the first one. So here I'm just going to turn this over. Let's see how it looks. Perfect. Now this loop, put it onto the right needle. So now I have 2 extra stitches. Now this is the one that I did before I worked the second sleeve, and now this is the loop that I had left when I closed the sleeve. Now I'm going to pick up another stitch right into this stitch here. Just pick up a stitch and then make one right with this bar that's in front of the first stitch for the front panel. So put it over and make one right. There is no right or wrong way of doing this. The important thing here is that you add these extra 4 stitches so that under the sleeve we have these 4 stitches. Perfect. Now I'm going to continue and knit the stitches for the second front panel. Here I have 19, so that's 1, 2, 14 past the stitch marker. Here I need to add my third buttonhole, so I'm going to knit 2, yarn over, knit 2 together through the back or the front, however you want to do it, and knit 1. And here is the first row where we have knit the sleeves, and now we can continue for the body. At the end of this row you should have a total of 74 stitches. So now we're going to turn for the second row here of the body. For the body, we're going to continue and do the same thing we did here. So same thing, we knit the first row here, and the second row I'm going to purl. So here knit 2, then knit the yarn over through the back. If you're making this for boy, you would just knit 5 and do this at the end. Now pass the stitch marker and you're just going to purl across until you come to the last 5 stitches where we're going to knit. And at the end of each row from here on, we're going to have 74 stitches. Continue, finish this second row. I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. Okay, I finished the second row of the body here. Now we're going to turn for row 3. For row 3, we're going to knit across. So knit these 5 stitches and just knit across. Continue, finish this third row of the body. I'll meet you at the end. Okay, I finished the third row here of the body where I just knit across. Now for row 4, just turn. Here you're going to knit 5. Pass the stitch marker and purl for this 4th row until you come to the last 5 stitches where you're going to knit. So continue and finish this 4th row. I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. Okay, I finished the 4th row. This is where I purled and just knit here the last 5 stitches. Now turn for row 5, 6, 7, and 8. We're going to just knit across. Remember that at the end of each row here for the body, we're always going to have 74 stitches. So continue, finish this 5th row, and then turn for row 6 and just knit across. Turn for row 7, knit across. Turn for row 8 and knit across. And this is how I'm going to work the next 4 rows. So finish, and then I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. I finished the last 4 rows, rows 5, 6, 7, and 8, where I just knit across. This completes the first repeat. At the end of each repeat, we're going to have 74 stitches. Now, from here on, you're just going to continue and repeat these 8 rows, just like we did here for the sleeves, and we're going to make the same number of repeats. We're going to make 5 repeats here for the body. So it's going to look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then in the last row here we're going to cast off our stitches. Now make sure you keep track of your rows so that you can add your buttonholes here on this side. Continue watching. I will let you know exactly how many buttonholes I'm going to add here and on which rows I'm going to make them on. But for now, like I said, you're just going to continue and make a total of 5 repeats, just like we did here for the body. Make sure you keep track of your rows so that you can keep adding your buttonholes every 12th row. So that's how I'm going to continue here for the rest of the body for the little sweater. So continue, let's finish this part, and then I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. I finished making the body. I did a total of 5 repeats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Each repeat has 8 rows. So 5 times 8, that's a total of 40 rows here for the body. In the next row, I'm going to go ahead and cast off my stitches. Now I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buttonholes. Now I'm going to tell you on which rows I did my buttonholes. The first one was done here in the first row of the first repeat, and then we did the second one on row 13, the third one on row 25, the fourth one on row 37, the fifth one on row 49, and the sixth one here on row 61. So I have 6 buttonholes. Now in another tutorial, I think I'm going to go ahead and do some little overalls. Many of you have commented on us that I do that. This would be a very easy pattern to just continue and make it a little bit longer and then just divide for the legs. So I think I'll do that, so stay tuned for that. So here, to continue and cast off the stitches, I'm just going to knit the first stitch, knit the second, bring the first stitch over the second, knit the next, bring this stitch over the next, and so on. Here we're just going to cast off these stitches. This here is the right side. So remove that and continue with the same thing until you come to the last stitch. I will meet you here at the end to show you the finished little sweater. Okay, I finished casting off my stitches here at the end. I just cut my yarn, passed my yarn through that last loop, and then I just hid my ends. And this little sweater is all done. This is how it looks. Here's the front, and here's the back side. Now I went ahead and added my buttons. These buttons here are 12mm size buttons, and I used 6. So the little sweater is all done. Now let me give you the finished measurements. From the top of the neckline to the end of the sleeve, it's measuring about 22.5 centimeters, which is about 9 inches. From under the sleeve to the end of the sleeve, it's measuring about 12 centimeters, which is about 4.75 inches. Now this measurement here, right across, it's measuring about 10.5 centimeters, which is about 4 inches. And the total length from the top here of the neckline to the bottom, it's measuring about 25 centimeters, which is about 10 inches. Now the chest measurement, just the top, it's measuring about 20 centimeters, which is about 8 inches. So based on these measurements, this little sweater is for baby girls and boys between 0 and 3 months. Now you can easily make it smaller or bigger from a newborn size and up to 12 months. Down here in the information box, I'll go ahead and leave you some information on how you can easily make it smaller or bigger. So be sure to check that out. Now here's the little boy version that I did. Remember that as we were making this tutorial, I told you where you needed to make the buttonholes for boys. This one here is in the same size. So there it is. Now comment below and let me know if you want me to make matching baby pants or a matching little hat. I'll gladly go ahead and do that for you all, but make sure to comment. Okay, so this was today's tutorial. I hope you like it. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.